If you follow my channel, I've done plenty of OPNsense videos, including official hardware videos, such as this DEC675 from Deciso. This is a desktop variant. I've also covered the 677, similar chassis, but 2.5 gig networking as opposed to 1 gig networking. And in this video, we're going to be looking at this monster. This is the DEC2770 from Deciso, official OPNsense hardware, complete with 2.5 gig networking and SFP plus ports for 10 gig networking. So we're going to be diving into that. We'll unbox it and take a look.
Sheridan Computers, IT, Communications, Support.
This smaller box on the top is the 677. That's how that comes packed. You can obviously see the difference. This is a desktop variant. This is the rack mount version. So obviously much bigger box. And if we take a look at this, so this is on loan from Serious IT Services. So they've packed it up, and this is what we get in the box. We have Zen Armor, free trial, the getting started guide. Then we've got a couple of data sheets. Let me move these out of the way a second. And this is the actual unit itself. I'm assuming this is a power lead. So yes, we've got a standard IEC lead. And then we'll have a USB console cable. If I move the box out of the way, just move myself out of the way. I'll zoom in a bit so we can see. Okay, so on the front, we have the two SFP plus ports, X0 and X1. We have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 2.5 gigabit Ethernet ports, and obviously labeled 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have a single USB 3 port. We have the console port, power indicator, and that is a reset button right there. So this is quite funky. I do like the look of all the OPNsense hardware. This looks like it's 3D printed. On the back, we've got the grounding screw, single. Sorry, let me move this into view. Got a single switchable PSU, so this 2770 doesn't have dual PSUs, it only has single. You can see the fan here. On the side, we've got no breathing holes on the side. On there, or on the bottom. So what you see on the front is pretty much all you get, other than the power socket location on the back. Let's power it up and take a look. So what I'm going to do is, according to the getting started guide, where are we? The OPNsense appliance has been pre-installed with OPNsense Business Edition software. The Ethernet ports of the appliance are assigned as follow. Port 0 is assigned to the LAN and has a DHCP range from 192.168.1.100 to 1.99. Port 1, the other 2.5 gigabit port, is assigned to the WAN and uses DHCP client. Other ports are not configured. And then we've got login as root, password as OPNsense. And to get access to your web, 192.168.1.1. So my WAN goes into there. I plug the LAN in and we'll power it up. Whilst we're waiting for it to boot, since I've covered the 675 and the 677, let's see how the 2770 compares to the 677. It's not a fair comparison by any means, but let's do it anyway. So both obviously pre-installed with OPNsense. The license is the open source plus 1 year free business edition. So you get the business edition free for a year. After that, you can subscribe again for another year, or you can switch to the open source version. Under hardware, for typical applications, firewall, routing and VPN for the 677. The 2770 is the same, but also supports intrusion detection and prevention systems. The Ethernet ports, we've looked at the 4x 2.5 gig ports on the 677, whereas the 2770 has the 2 SFP plus 10 gig ports, and then it has 7 2.5 gig ports. Both have a single USB 3. Both have a console port, effectively a serial console, so you can see what's going on. The internal storage is one of the major differences. So the 32 gig solid state flash on the 677, which is an eMMC type of storage, as I've already mentioned, not really comparable to the 256 gig proper solid state flash on the 2770, making it a lot faster. Memory wise, the 677 has 4 gig of DDR3 and 8 gig of DDR4 for the 2770. CPU cores, so 4 cores, and it's an Atom processor on the 677 with 4 cores. The 2770 is 4 cores and 8 threads. Now, when you actually boot into OPNsense, you'll see that it says 4 cores and 4 threads, and that's because I think they've got SMT disabled for security and stability in the BIOS. Max VLANs are the same. Looking at the CPU there, sorry, as I noted, one's an Atom, and the 2770 is a major upgrade to an embedded Ryzen. So if we look at the system performance, firewall throughput, 5 gigabits versus 10 gigabits. Firewall packets per second, 420 versus 830 on the 2770. Throughput, 2.3 gigabits, 8.5 gigabits. Firewall port-to-port packets per second, 195,000 versus 719,000. Concurrent sessions, 3 million versus 7 million. Firewall latency average, 125 versus 150. Firewall policies are the same. The IPsec, so 600 megabits per second on the 677, whereas on the 2770 you'll get 1.2 IPsec throughput. Obviously a lot faster. The high availability state is obviously requires 2 no matter what you're doing. So the dimensions, obviously the 2770 is a lot bigger. It's a rack mount, so it's 19-inch, 1U, whereas the 677 is a desktop version, so it's a 22 by 185 by 134. So form factor desktop for the 677, 19-inch rack for the 2770. The weight is 0.56 kg on the 677. Obviously, the 2770 is a lot heavier at 2.75. And if we look at the power requirements, 100 to 240 volts AC, 50 to 60 hertz. Power consumption is obviously lower on the 677 at 13 watts and 20 watts on the 270. So 20 watts is still very low power for a device like this. And then we've got the heat dissipation, 48 BTU an hour versus 68 BTU an hour. The operating system temperatures are pretty much the same. So I just wanted to cover that. The major thing being the CPU upgrade, obviously, and the faster RAM. So with that, let's see if our system's booted. We've plugged the LAN WAN cables in. I've got the power cable in, and I've also got the console cable in. As you can see here, I'm in Minicom, so we can see what's going on. So let's switch this on. We should get some display, hopefully. There we go. So it's on 24.4 Savvy Shark, if you saw that. Just wait for this thing to get to the login prompt so we can log into it and take a look. You can see MVD0 there. 512 sectors, ZFS, it's on Z root. So this is set up with ZFS. Which is awesome. It means we have snapshots and things available as well. Press any key to start manual interface assignments. Just going to leave this alone and let it do it itself. So the one is on IGC1 and the LAN was on IGC0. I don't know if this has been pre-configured. As I say, it was lent to me. Hopefully it's still at factory default. So invoking start script beep. I didn't hear any beep. So this hardware's obviously got no speaker in it. Now, unfortunately, I can't strip this down because it is still under warranty. I did ask Deciso if they'd let me strip it down, and they said absolutely not. And it's not like it's easy way around the warranty void if removed sticker. I was just seeing one of the previous videos where I took it apart. It's literally very hard to get off. So unfortunately, I can't strip it down, but we can log in and have a look now. So let me pull the web interface up. Just a potential security risk ahead. That's just because it's a self-signed search. We don't need to worry about that. Click continue. Let me pull this a bit bigger. So hopefully it's root and OPNsense to log in, and it hasn't been changed. Right, okay, now. So good, we're on the initial startup page here. So I'm not going to go into how to set up OPNsense. I've done a lot of videos on this, but we'll go through the wizard, get the wizard just so we can see how it works. And this is the old wizard, by the way. The recent version of 25.7 has just been released, and this wizard is a bit different. I've not had a look at that yet, and I do plan it. So I'm just going to leave this as it is. Primary DNS server, just set that to quad 9 for the time being. Allow DNS server to be overridden by DHCP. We don't need to worry about that. Enable resolver. Let's say I'm not going through how to set up. This is not a how to set up OPNsense video, but we'll go through and do what we need to do. We'll leave that as it is. I don't want to block private networks on the WAN for now because we have an RFC 1918 address. So we'll just leave everything as it is. Leave a password, reload. Congratulations, OPNsense is now configured. No, make this a bit bigger. You can see it anyway, but right, let's go to the dashboard. So we can see this is 24.4 Savvy Shark. Let's go ahead and check for updates. In fact, before we do that, so the processor you can see is an AMD Ryzen embedded V1500B. We've got 4 cores and 4 threads. Memory is on 8 gig. As you can see, we are using ZFS. Does 24.4, 13.2. Does this include snapshots? System snapshots? No. So 24.4 doesn't have the snapshot features, but it is installed on ZFS. So when we do the update, we will benefit from snapshots. If you don't know what snapshots are, they're like what you pay for in pfSense Plus with boot environment, identical. Let's go ahead and check for updates. Not available on this repository. Okay, so what I'm going to need to do is go into settings. We're on commercial, and I have to fill in the license here. So just bear with me while I do that. Hopefully I entered that right. Let's check again. Yep, we're good. Okay, so 24.4.3. This is based on 24.4.2. So here are full patch notes. System, add snapshot, boot environments, contributed by Sheridan computers. So that was one of the things that stopped me moving over from pfSense to OPNsense. The snapshots was quite handy. And now they're available for everybody to use for free in OPNsense. So if you get use out of them and you like them, I'll leave a link below. Feel free to buy me a coffee. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue with the update. Let me scroll down, find the update button. Update. Okay, so one of the things with this has got SSD flash on it. One of the things with the 675 and the 677 was they was using eMMC type storage, and it takes a while to update. In fact, when I did the 677 hardware review, it was taking so long to update, I literally just wiped it, downloaded the latest version, and installed that. Because we're on an SSD, this is going a hell of a lot faster. So we'll let this complete. I was going to pause it here, but because it's on an SSD, it's going that fast, there's really no point. We might as well just finish it out. Where we're up to. So you can see this is based on the base version of 24.1.10. Critical upgrade is in process. Do not turn off the system. If you're using hardware that doesn't have an SSD and this takes a while, wait for it. I've had a few people that have been impatient and they've cancelled it or rebooted it at this stage, and it will brick your system. And then you'll have to download it and do a reinstall. So we'll just let this reboot. Okay, we're back on, so let's log back in. Root OPNsense. So on 24.4.3, so this is on FreeBSD 13.2. We've got a license till 25th of the 8th, so we check for updates. Now, like I said, that update included the boot environment, so snapshot feature that I wrote for OPNsense, so hopefully I have it. We do. So let's go into snapshots, and before we do any further upgrades or anything, I'm just going to create a snapshot right here. What version did I say we're on? 24.4.3_1. So I'm going to go into System, Snapshot, and I'm going to take a snapshot. So this is 24.3.1, and that's the beauty of snapshots. If anything goes wrong from here, we can literally roll right back. So this is a recommended way to do an upgrade. Take a snapshot, then go into firmware, updates, and then we'll check for updates. So OPNsense 24.4 Savvy Shark has reached end of life, but we can upgrade to 24.10 series right here. So this is important why you should take snapshots. If anything goes wrong here, it's a major upgrade, we can just roll right back. So go ahead. I don't need to read the release notes on this because it's an end of life version anyway, so we'll close that. We'll do the upgrade. Okay. We've just been through the upgrade process once, so I'm just going to pause this here while it does this. Upgrade is finished, so let's just wait for the reboot. So that upgrade's complete. We'll probably have to do another one. What's the latest version? 25.4 for Business Edition, I think. Password is OPNsense login. Okay, so you can see the dashboard's changed a bit on this one. We're on 24.10.7. So click view pending updates. Let's check for updates. Okay, this is 24.10.2. And this is released on 24.7.12, so it's still on 24 series. So to go ahead and before I do that, again, we're going, what we're on? System, where is it? Lobby, dashboard. We're on 24. Come on, highlight 24.10_7. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go into System, Snapshots, just in case. I'm going to add a new snapshot. So if anything goes wrong from here, we can roll back and now go back into firmware, updates. Just close this. I'm not going to go through them release notes. Update. Okay. I'll pause this update and we'll wait for this one to reboot. So this is installing the kernel for 24.7.13, base 24.7.13. And reboot again. Let's log back in again. So on 24.10.2_8. We will have more updates again. I'm going to go into System, Snapshots. I'm going to create a new one so we can roll back to here. Should anything go pear-shaped? So 24 points. So you'll see I'm naming these exactly after the version, so I can roll back to the latest version I want. We can see when they was created anyway. And they're not taking up that much space. So let's go to firmware, updates. Let's check for updates. And this 24.10 Thriving Tiger has reached end of life. So this will upgrade to the new 25.4 series. So I think this is the current version. So another method is to import and reinstall using a new installation image, which will retain your settings using import configuration, then reformat the disk and apply using either install ZFS or install UFS. So if you're on an SSD, ZFS is much better because it gives you the snapshot functionality. If you're on UFS, you can't use boot environments to do this. So okay, let's go ahead and do this one then. Right, 25.4 release notes. Let's see what we've got here. Migrate user and group privilege management. Remove disable integrated authentication feature. Add default group options to standard LDAP radius users. Remove the old manual LDAP importer. They migrated the high availability status page to use MVC and API. Allow custom additions to SSHD config. Increase max request field size for the web GUI. Set tunables. Offloading VTNet driver to disabled. Add support for RFC 5549 routes and refactor static route creation code. Improve notification support. Allow persistent notifications and static banners. Add notifications for low disk space and open SSH file override use. Migrate tunables page to use MVC and the API. Switch temperature sensor caching. Add certificate widget to track expiration dates and allow quick renewal. Remove the deprecated page get service provider, page dashboard all, page group manager, add privs. Replace file get contents with a curl implementation in XML RPC sync and add verify pair option. Add item edit links to several dashboard widgets. Prioritize index page and prevent redirection to API page on login. Mute disk space status in case of live reinstall media. Optimize system status collection. Exclude PCH therm threshold temperature threshold. Update power button wording on the new HA status page. Adjust gateway widget to use intended caching mechanism. Thermal sensor widget can now select individual sensors to display plus user experience changes. Handle dev PC firm temperatures, so more thermal updates. Use new apply button, partial tunables. Move high availability option. Disable preempt to advanced mode. Straighten out syslog NC RCD scripting. Sorry, syslog NG RCD scripting. Implement user CSV import functionality. Switch boot logo and message of the day to the new logo style. Migrate default tunable value to empty one and improve the user experience. Replace legacy service widget hook with a proper config decall. Add kill states when down. Stop pushing next UID and next group ID during XML RPC. Migrate tunables. Secure access to sysctl configuration node. Fix the radius error check. Rewire system user manager and password manager. So that's for Business Edition. Default NetINet carp send error demotion factor tunable set to 0. OPNsense beep serial access to dev speaker. URL fix hashing certificate link so redirection shows the correct menu path. Add user portal for self-servicing, one-time passwords and open VPN profiles. Fix missing typecast in epoch range for DNS statistics. Switch health graph to chart.js. Minor code cleanups in the back end. Adhere to DAD during VIP recreation. Remove non-functional features from bridges. Remove PPP edit in interface settings. Batch device type creation under devices submenu. There's a lot of updates here. Move PPP and wireless logs to system log. Remove use IPv4 connectivity setting as it will be set by default. Fixed undefined array key warnings in DHCP client setup. Add no sync option to virtual IPs and fix sync conditional. Use shared base boot grid table and base apply button where possible. Remove obsolete code in get real interfaces. Improve validation for carp and proxy app and VIP. Remove defunct other VIP type. Skip no sync processing on VIPs. Deselect all buttons to the same row on the packet capture page. They've added ARP address family option to packet capture. Fix advanced mode visibility in virtual IPs. Under the firewall, use skip LO0 instead of policing LO0 explicitly. That's following OpenBSD best practices. They've removed duplicate table definition and make sure that bog-on SV6 table always exists. Cleanup of carp and IPv6 rule behavior. Filter feature parity and automation rules. Offer multi-select on source and destination addresses. They've added experimental inline shaper to support filter rules. Add missing columns on one-to-one NAT page. Fixed anti-lockout and allow access to DHCP failover automatic rules. Add optional authorization for URL type aliases. Add URL table in JSON format, IPs. Properly unpack multiple source destination items in the rules page. Hide internal aliases to align with previously legacy list aliases function. Support partial alias exports. Performance improvement by using PF overall table stats instead of dumping each table. What else we got? Offer better pluggability for dynamic alias type. Alias rename action ignored due to missing lock. Support JQ processing for JSON-based URL table aliases. Fix presentation when alias name overlaps group name. Under the captive portal, fix missing class import. Partially revert new light HTTP daemon TLS defaults. URL encode selector items in voucher group list. DHC relay, integrate layout partials in the boot grid, migrate of existing front end to MVC API. Firmware fix R abbreviation versus version compare, sorry. OPNsense update, fix failure to clean up the working directory. Support -B, -K with -C option. OPNsense update, let -U skip already installed packages. Kernel may not be pending, so be sure to check that the upgrade on attempt. Add an upgrade to test for working package repository. Revoke 24.7 fingerprint. For the installer, fix missing prompt and helped in help text in ZFS disk selection. Warn on low RAM for ZFS as well. They've added power off option in the installer. Intrusion detection, policy content drop down missing data container, so that's been fixed. Under IPsec, add log search button in sessions. IPsec, add banner message when using custom configuration files. Fix glob pattern for advanced configuration banner. Add deprecation notices for legacy components, which will be moved to plugins. Pre-share key permission fix. Under Kia DHCP, they've added version 6 only preferred option. Use shared base boot grid table and base apply button and add missing ACL privileges. Languages, update available translations. Monet, flag file overwrites when they exist. Network time, take IPv6 addresses into account. Remove support for explicit virtual IP selection. Remove XML-RPC definition to correct file. OpenVPN has had a bunch of fixes, so add validation pertaining to auth generation token and regen set combinations. Add the deprecation notices for legacy components, which will be moved to plugins. Add DCO validation fragment size. Use shared base boot grid table and base apply button. That's the UI stuff. Add support for assorted options. Add basic HTTP client option. Add enable static challenge one-time password option in client export. Router advertisements, move plugin code to its own space. Unbound has had some fixes. Clean up available block lists and add Hagezi block lists. Fix root.hit permission on copy. Flag file overwrites when they exist. Add support for forward first when configuring forwarders. Use shared base boot grid tables, again UI changes. Move whitelist, pass list, handling to unbound. Drop exclude phrase from plugin entry. WireGuard has had changes. So change tracking of peer status, improve widget and diagnostic. Use shared base, again more interfaces. Backend -M option is unused, so it's been removed. Add an import RC syshook facility. Change the monitor RC syshook facility and de-deprecate its use. Remove unused functions and move once used functions to their core script. Allow plugin CTL to filter on -X option. MVC, implement reusable grid templates for form definitions. Add default method to reset a model to its factory defaults. Fix legacy mapper when the mount point is not XML root. Move explicit cast in base model when calling field set value. Field should implement get current value rather than using toString. Fix a value lookup in link address field. Memory preservation fix in base list field. Support lazy loading on alias models and use it in network alias field. Wrap locks around updates and perform some minor cleanups in API mutable model controller base. where we was up to safeguard check token to prevent fetching a non-existent post item, decode HTML tags in menu items, fix unit tests for model relation field, merge network validator into network field to ease extensibility and add unit test, send audit messages emitted in the authentication sequence to the proper channel. The user interface, they've upgraded the Font Awesome icons to version 6. Incidentally, Font Awesome version 7's out soon, I think, if not already. User interface again, push search edit logic towards boot grid implementation, improve links with automatic edit and or search, rewritten the default theme for a light look and a new logo, added the default theme variant with a dark look, header image scaling fixes in the default light theme, remove right border from a side element in dark theme. We've upgraded chart.js to version 4, so your graphs will look a lot prettier. Change backdrop background to color to black in dark theme, and create a unified layout partial for the apply button. And then there's various plugins that have been updated. So OS, OPNsense Business Edition Core, OPNsense Web Application Firewall, Open Central to 1.11. OS Acme Client's been updated, OS Caddy. The OS CPU microcode 1.1 removes unneeded late loading code. CrowdSec's been updated. DD client, DMI decode, FRR, HA proxy, intrusion detection content. SFTP backup now allows for configuration over SFTP. That's a welcome addition. Plugins, Tailscale, OS Tailscale 1.2. So OS Tailscale was also a plugin that was written by me and contributed by me to give Tailscale support. I can't remember what the actual updates do for 1.2. It was a while ago since I wrote that. Theme updates. The Zabbix agent's been updated to 1.15. The Zabbix proxy's been updated to 1.12. So FreeBSD has been updated to 14.2 release. BPF fixed race conditions. CARP fixed check IPv4. Some VLAN fixes for the E1000. ICMP used per rate limit, randomized jitter. Some interface updates for VXLAN, ifconfig, make VHT work, detach BPF, IGC, remove unused register, add missing initializer for limit table on IPFW, make IPFW show output compatible with IPFW add, Intel wireless Wi-Fi, update Intel IWL Wi-Fi MVMM drivers, IXGBE has had some updates to that. libkern net 802.11ac options to manage VHT. I've never had to use Wi-Fi from an OPNsense box. I'd normally use an external access point. Some more network updates. Lots of PF stuff. So PF's had many updates here. Time zone data has been updated. CA routes, curl, DNS mask, XBAT, light, HTTPD, Monet, NSS, OpenSL has been updated. OpenVPN has been updated. PCRE library. Peckle Radius now offers message authenticator support, scheduled to be enabled with 25.4.2. PF Top's been updated. Falcon PHP has been updated to 8.3. The Python DuckDB library has been updated. The Python JQ library has been updated. RADVD and Suricata has been updated to 7.0.10. Now we have got some migration notes and known issues. The access management was rewritten in MVC and contains behavioral changes, including not rendering Unix accounts for non-shell users. The integrated authentication via PAM has been the default for a long time, so the option has been to disable has been removed. Manual LDAP portal is no longer available, and that's because the LDAP Radius authenticator support on-demand creation and default group setup option. The page system group manager add privileges privilege was removed since the page does not exist anymore. A multi-purpose privilege editor has been added under the existing page system user manager. PPP devices can no longer be configured on the interface settings page. To edit the device settings, use the native PPP device edit page instead. Let's go ahead and continue with this. So we'll hit upgrade. Now the firewall will download all firmware sets and reboot multiple times this upgrade. So we'll go hit OK. And now, as I am logged into this. So we'll see what happens there. When you're performing updates, like I've got the web console available here. So obviously we can see what's happening here from the update page, but when the system actually starts rebooting, you can't really tell what's going on and you're kind of flying blind. Now the console cable that comes in the box, if you hook the console cable up, then obviously you can connect via serial console and you can actually see what's going on during a system reboot. So your device is rebooting. And this is what I mean here. During this process, you can't really see what's happening. But now we can see that it's shutting down. You can wait. Don't get impatient. If you're the impatient type of person, plug the console cable in so you can see what's happening. So see, this is a bit that you can't see from the web console. So now we can see invoking early scripts upgrade. A critical upgrade is in process. Please do not turn off the system. So you can't really tell what's going on here from the web console. If you hook up via serial console, or if you've got a VGA connection, if you're not using official hardware, if you hook it up, it can help during upgrades. And I say the speed of this 2770 versus the desktop variants that use the eMMC storage. See, we're rebooting again now. So if you just sat looking at a web console, you're going to be waiting for a while before it comes available. At least through the serial console or through the VGA console, you can see what's going on. But yeah, this 2770, if you're using OPNsense, I wouldn't have waited and I wouldn't have done all the upgrades in the steps that I did if this didn't have an SSD in it. I literally would have just downloaded the latest version and reinstalled it. But because it's got an SSD, it's not really a long time to wait. But if you're looking at the console, at least you can see what's happening. And I'm just doing this just to... I also want to show you that the upgrades do go pretty seamless on OPNsense. A lot of people complain about the updates and how there's so many. They generally don't break, especially on the Business Edition. On the Community Edition, the free version, that's where all the updates are tested. So if you're running in a production environment, generally wait a week or two until after an update. Follow the forum to see what's happening, if people have had any issues. If they've not, then upgrade. It's not really rocket science. It's just kind of how OPNsense works. Those that are prepared and can do the update early, they help test the features out on OPNsense, and that's how they get fixed. So we're doing this reboot. Like I say, you can see in the background, the upgrade is finished and your device is being rebooted at the moment. Please wait. So we've gone through an initial upgrade bit. It's rebooted. And so you can get a bit impatient. You just need to wait. Of course, I don't hook a serial console up or VGA to every system we update. I just set it updating, and I'm quite prepared to wait 10 minutes, 30 minutes, however long it's going to take. So you can see we've booted, and we're now into 25.4. And the login page, as you saw, booped up in the background. Can't remember what type then. Right, so we're on 25.4. This is on FreeBSD 13.2. Let's see if we've got any... what I'm going to do actually, again, I always recommend you do this. Go to the lobby, get the current version. So this is 25.4. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to System, Snapshots. I'm going to create another one and just call this 25.4. Okay, so during all this upgrade process, I've had the ability to just roll back to any of these if a problem happened. So now we can go back to firmware, updates, status, check again. And we do have more available. So this is 25.4.1, and this is based on 25.1.6. Community version with an additional reliability improvements, but without DNS mask DHCP support and the recent captive portal backend switch. So what have we got in 25.4.1? System extend XMRPC no sync support to keep backup items for new cases. Use radius message authenticator by default. Prevent a recursion loop when CAs are cross-referencing in each other. Fix off by one error due to line ending at the end of the log file. Offer config directory to store locations for external certificates and support in certificates widget. Allow multiple manual DNS search domains. Fix gateway watcher back off. Minor code cleanups in auth.inc. Kill gateway states for failback scenario when a higher priority gateway comes back online. I'm glad they fixed that. Update to the latest time zone data. Clean up a number of unused functions. Refactor virtual IP access in auth.inc. Add field boot time to API system time. Move NetFlow backend to single pass to command line parameters for easier debugging. Use client time in traffic dashboard widget. Replace insights totals chart with a chart.js variant, so that'll look prettier. Minor style fixes and cleanup in health graphs. Interfaces, refactor bridge configuration backend. They've refactored the wireless device assignment and allow literal comma by escape sequence in DHCP advanced modifiers. What else we got? Fix refresh button in the art page. Fix deselect all button in packet capture. Rename IP in subnet to reflect it's only for IPv4. Removed unused get VIP description. Domain to host migration for hosts. That's under DNS mask. For firewall, automation filters, add a UI revamp. Fix regression in alias table in JSON format. Replace update params for argparse in filter log reader. Prevent the source and destination inversion when multiple nets are selected. Support comma-separated alias targets in refactor. Added multi-select for ICMP type. They've updated the user agent in the alias URL fetch. Firmware ignored dashboard check for update link automation if user clicks check updates too. You probably see I've already done that once in this video. Firmware fix reboot flag to reboot flag handling due to change Boolean field. Default in 25.1.4. Added a cleanup audit script. Intrusion detection. Fix a log reader regression in the alert view. Fix alert info button. IPsec. Move mobile clients attributes to advanced settings. Fix off server parsing. Copy split DNS name to undocumented 25 option. Fix more ACL related to individual IPsec page use. Add DH group 2 for basic Azure VPN gateway compatibility. Fix trimming null values. Attribute 28673 previously rendered as 1 instead of strong swan default yes no for a boolean. Under ISC DHCP, use lease type to key lease map in addition to AID and DUID. Fix invalid fully qualified domain name generation for DHCP v4 static map domains. Allow manual configuration for advanced scenarios. They've added DHCP version 6 support. Split into multiple ID-based services. Fix menu for overlapping lease links. Correct static mapping returns for IPv6 addresses. Key DHCP still. Translate reservation MAC addresses when dash is used. I'm glad they fixed that. OpenVPN. Display virtual IPv6 addresses for clients in the dashboard widget. OpenVPN again simplified the virtual IP handling in legacy pages. Router advertisements fix a list of source addresses in the overlapping link locals. Unbound, add time to live field. Backend, support errors no, clause on actions. Under the MVC, prefer UI user portal above system manager, password manager, PHP ACLs. Implement ignore field type in forms. Allow referencing disabled interfaces in link address field. Fix scoping issue in the certificates field. Boolean field now defaults to 0 on creation. They've added static internal static children in classes extending the array field, safeguard JSON key value store field, set source field. Under the user interface, include all instead of solid and brands for font autumn styles. Ensure fields stay aligned relatively to another when headers are used in forms. Add fetch options which can build group select pickers. Improve and extend boot group behavior. And again, we've got more plugin updates. OS Caddy to 1.8.5. OS ND proxy to 1.1. SFT backup. Adds hostname prefix and field only support. Theme updates. OS turn server. Squid. And then various source updates. I'm literally not going to go through all these. If you want to, you can go through them yourself. But ports-wise, Curl's been updated, XBAT, Kia, Light HTTPD, Monet, NSS, OpenSSH, Falcon, PHP, the Python DuckDB library. Python's been updated to 3.11.12, syslog-ng, and Unbound have also been updated. With that, off we go again. So the firewall will reboot directly after this firmware update. That's fine. Again, on the web interface, you can see that it says rebooting, please wait. And say just staying on the console just makes things a bit easier. So you can see the console's appeared in the background. The web interface has reloaded. So let's go ahead and log in again. So OPNsense updates don't take this long. It's just that, I say this device is on loan and I've had it a while. So we're now on 25.4.1. I'm going to copy that. I do this after every single update. System, snapshots. We're going to create a new one. Save that. These 25.4s are not really needed anymore, so I'm going to just delete them. So you can see I've got 25.4, 25.4.1. So if I do find any issues, I can always jump back. So the firmware, are we up to date this time? Check for updates. And this system is now fully up to date. Okay, lobby, dashboard. Where's the system settings, general, theme? Let's go to dark. Okay. And there's a dark theme. Let's go back to dashboard. So we're good. We're up to date. Let's say this isn't it ended up being a tutorial on how to update the OPNsense Business Edition. It kind of wasn't meant to be. It was just this was on an old firmware. Now if we look at the graphs, you can see we've got all these pretty graphs. Uptime, load averages. So there's hardly anything being used on this system. One thing I do get commented a lot on YouTube videos. Devices like these are expensive. Yeah, of course they are, compared to low power, cheap, built hardware that you can buy off AliExpress. The thing with these is they're built to last. We have clients all over the country. I run a business, so I'm not just like a home lab user. If you run a home lab user and you want to go and get hardware off AliExpress and it dies in a week, it's not really here or there. If you're a business user, for me, example, with clients all over the place, if I install this in London, I want it to run for as long as possible. I don't want to have hardware issues, things dying, and that's what this is all about. And is it expensive when you look at license costs compared to Fortinet, Cisco, and the hardware prices? It's really not even in that league price-wise, but you get peace of mind. It supports an open source project, which basically people are writing this. Deciso have a team behind OPNsense writing it. I know it's open source and it has contributors such as myself, but the people behind it need to eat. And I just think OPNsense is great the way it works. They never paywall features off. Okay, Open Central is available in the Business Edition to allow you to monitor multiple devices and control multiple devices. But cost-wise, if people are going to start leaving comments again in the YouTube comments saying, it's expensive, I run a business. It's kind of different from running it at home. If you want to get a cheap PC at home and run it and it dies, it's not really a problem. If I install that in a client that's got 100 employees and the hardware dies and then they've got to wait for someone to get there to replace it, much better option. Anyway, I'm starting to waffle. So if you found this video useful, please hit the like button. Consider subscribing to the channel. And if you're a business, consider actually using the Business Edition of OPNsense. And that's what you'll stop having issues with upgrades and things. But we're done for this video, and I'll see you in the next one.